So, Sully. This is my first movie review. I don't really know how to start it. We're doing Sully. Yeah, welcome to this, whatever it is. So we're reviewing Sully, a movie directed by Clint Eastwood and starring Tom Hanks, about a captain who's in a plane crash and has to make some tough decisions, but in the end saves some people. So yeah, it's really refreshing to see Tom Hanks break typecasting and really do some new stuff, you know? Sully caught me off guard a little bit. Throughout the movie, you don't really see a lot of the tropes you see in most movies that are based on true stories. There's not a lot of awkward moments, cliche dialogue, kind of weird, cheesy ways to tell a story that actually happened. It actually surprisingly does justice to the story. So first of all, Sully opens with something I absolutely hate in movies. This is something, if you know me, you know I can't fucking stand, which is a dream sequence. I'm so sick of seeing those in movies. It just kind of pissed me off right from the beginning, but the movie eventually made up for it, basically. It starts with him flying a plane, and you basically see what happens. The engines go out, and he's like, oh, we have to turn to the airport, and he ends up crashing the whole plane. It's like, oh, that was really a dream. You see him wake up. You know, it's that same bullshit that you see in a lot of different movies. Throughout the movie, it kind of makes up for that. It tells the story in kind of an interesting way. First of all, the movie starts after the crash. One of the first scenes is them arguing over what really happened. And that's something you never see in movies, where they take the interesting part and just move right past it. But weirdly enough, it worked, because later it goes back. And while I don't usually like movies skipping around, like, oh, here's a flashback, now here's the present, it almost worked for this movie because it goes back and kind of shows a flashback, shows from one perspective. First, when it shows the crash, it shows the flight control. Then it goes back again, shows the passengers. Then by the end of the movie, you actually see what Sully saw. And I thought that was an interesting way of doing it. It kind of showed all the different perspectives, showed what really happened and what different people were experiencing, and it kind of made it a lot more interesting because first they're arguing. Through most of the movie they're arguing about what happened, but that's before you actually see what happened. So that kind of gives you the perspective of the observers rather than Sully. So it's not clear from the beginning whether or not he made the right decision, which is what most of the conflict of the movie is based on. And I thought that was pretty cool. Earlier I said the movie didn't have many cliche moments or terrible dialogue. To say it didn't have any, though, wouldn't be completely accurate. There was a scene where he goes into a bar and they go, oh, aren't you that guy, Sully? You were on the news and you flew that plane and golly, it's so great. We even named a drink after you. Yeah, Sully, Sully. And it's just so awkward and cringy. The movie didn't have too many of those moments, so it didn't bring it down too much, but there still was that. So I initially came into this movie thinking it wasn't completely necessary to tell the whole story of Sully into a full-length movie, and I wish I could say I left the theater convinced otherwise. I mean, it was still a good movie. It did the story well, it presented its conflict well, but also there was barely any conflict in the first place. I mean, the movie does start out with them saying, oh, did he make the right decision? But then they spend the whole movie of, oh, Sully's a saint, and he's so perfect, and he absolutely made the right decision. So there's not a lot of really questioning of whether or not he did make the right decision, because it kind of has you the whole time thinking, yeah, of course he made the right decision, of course he did it. And then by the end of the movie, they're like, yeah, you're cool, you made the right decision. So by the end, it doesn't really feel like there was much of a conflict. I did, however, feel like the movie presented what happened pretty well. It showed the events that occurred in a fairly interesting and almost accurate way, and kind of put you in the seat of one of those passengers or Sully, or just kind of showed what really happened. And it did that job really well, but by the end it didn't feel completely necessary. I still enjoyed the movie, and overall I'd have to give it about a 7.5 out of 10. It did its story well. It showed the disaster way better than most movies based on true stories do. And I just feel like I left the theater pretty satisfied. That's it for this review. Next week we're doing Snowden, and I'll see you guys next time.